Hey friends, it's Tuesday night. It's time for our Tuesday night worship express. I have changed my seating in here with a little different background. You still get a little bit of the stained glass. We've got the American flag back here, and the cross is right over here. I will zoom it in. And I am facing the sanctuary, which is empty right now, but would be full of people, maybe. Anyway, welcome back to our Tuesday night, and it's good to be in here. I believe that this will encourage you to remember who you are, to remember who we are in Christ. This week, I needed this. I needed to remember who I am, and a lot of the reminders that I receive with that is through music. So of course I have somewhat part of a song to share with you. Sometimes without realizing it, we look for confidence and affirmation of who we are from the people around us. And like I said, without realizing it, instead of looking for the confidence and the assurance that we have that we get from God. Hi, Mary Lou, Pastor Gary. Hey, Anna. Glad you guys are on. I am guilty of this. I know that I look for affirmation and validation from my family, from my friends. I seek counsel from people about different things, different decisions that I'm trying to make, instead of having the confidence and remembering who I am in God's eyes. And so I want to share just a little bit of context with you from Galatians. And we have talked a little bit about Paul, if you remember. We talked about the two Pauls a few weeks ago. Hey, Mom, glad you're here. Tonight, we are still talking about Paul and the letter that he writes to the church, what he says about himself, and saying, this is who I am, and I have been called by God, not by a man or another person. This is what he says. I am Paul, an apostle, sent not from men nor by man, but by Jesus Christ and God the Father. And if any of you remember anything about Paul before he really became Paul, he had a different name. That's a whole nother story. He was a persecutor of Christians. He did not appreciate or understand or agree with what Christians were sharing, the love of Christ, until he had what I would call a transformation. And in his thinking and in his heart, and things changed for him. And so at the moment that he was called by God, he goes on to say, but when God, who set me apart from birth and called me by his grace, was pleased to reveal his Son in me, to reveal Jesus in me, so that I might preach him among the Gentiles, I did not consult any man. Saying that he just took the call and went with it without question. And for those of you who may not understand, and I've been one of these people, still am a little bit, understand what the calling means. Like maybe you've heard your pastor say this, or a friend who might be in ministry say, I received the calling from God when I was such and such years old. And some of us just nod and say, oh, that's neat, that's cool. But what does that mean? And I remember hearing my dad when I was young share stories with people about his calling, and his came at a very young age. He went to Baylor University right after high school, and then went on to seminary school after that. And he was a pastor his entire adult life, so he knew nothing else. And I just remember thinking, the terminology, there's a calling that people receive, but I didn't really understand the depth of it. And then my life, as I got older, when Bo and I met, his story is part of my story, but his calling, I have permission to share this. We talked about this Sunday night at youth group. He had a calling during our time of him climbing the corporate ladder. I was working as a family therapist, and we were doing what, we were working our jobs, raising our two children together, and all of a sudden he had this this pit in his stomach, this pain in his heart that he was not doing what God wanted him to do, what God intended for him to do. And he was describing this calling that he was feeling and wanting to pursue it. And he spent an entire summer out at Camp Wilderness volunteering and getting his hands into the ministry part of it and really feeling at peace with that, wanting to be a part of it, but still having this other life, this other job. And I remember feeling very uneasy about a change with 2 young children and picking up, moving into a different house, having a different life, and allowing him to answer this call. And this is when I believe that God put someone in my life, just for a very short time. He put this person in my life, and what she said to me will stay with me forever. When I was explaining my angst and my worry about going along with whatever this was that Bo was wanting to answer, she said, "You have a husband that wants to follow the Lord. And what else can come from that but good? So you need to let go and let God do what he's going to do through Bo." And it was after that moment that I went to Bo and I said, "This sick feeling that you're having, I want it to end, and I am giving you permission to pursue this, if that's the word you want to use." But it was after that we picked up, and he accepted the job at the camp, and we are still there continuing the ministry that started years ago, 56 years ago, I think. And it's been an amazing transformation in our lives. The call that I felt with youth ministry, I believe that it was different from what Bo felt, but I knew that growing up as a pastor's kid, I had this in my blood. And so it felt natural and good. And, it was the only job interview I'd ever had. Hey, Pastor Homer, this has to do with you. The only job interview I'd ever had that we sat at a table and someone prayed before the interview started. And I just thought, how could this be anything but what God is asking me to do? And so those are 2 small testimonies of times that God calls us to do things, and sometimes we answer the call, and sometimes maybe we push it away a little bit. But I believe if we do push it away, it's going to come back to us at some point and give us another opportunity to answer it. And sometimes we do need the counsel of wise people speaking into our lives. I'm not suggesting that we don't talk to our families and our friends when we have concerns or things that we need to discuss, but remembering who we are in God's eyes is all we need for the assurance of who we are. Not looking for validation from others about who we are. That's the distinction. So where does our strength come from? I'll read a little bit more text, and this is from Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 5. This is what the Lord says. "Cursed is the one who trusts in man, who depends on the flesh for his strength, and whose heart turns away from the Lord. He will be like a bush in the wastelands. He will not see prosperity when it comes." Sounds kind of harsh. Then he goes on to say, "He will be like a tree planted in the water." Oh, sorry, let me back up. "But blessed is the man who trusts in the Lord, whose confidence is in him. He will be like a tree planted in the water that sends out its roots by the stream. It does not fear when heat comes." Meaning, when the trials of life come our way, we don't fear, we're not shaken, because our confidence is in the Lord and what he has promised us. So those are 2 texts that I resonated with me this week and reminded me of who we are in God. So, of course, I want to reference a song that's out right now, and it's if you want to look it up, it's by a band called Need to Breathe, and that's all one word, Need to Breathe. It's called "Who Am I?" And I just want you to listen to these lyrics. "Hard times and conversation, no one should ever love me like you do. Sometimes my bad decisions define my false suspicions. No one should ever love me like you do. While I'm on this road, you take my hand. Somehow you really love who I really am. I push you away, still you won't let go. You grow your roses in my barren soul. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I to be loved by you? And obviously, I'm not doing it justice. It's an amazing song and really gets you thinking. We're all just these people living our lives. Who are we to God? But He loves us so much, and it is in this book that we get to realize that by reading these scriptures. I want to share one more personal story. This is a story that I share now that I know the story behind it. When I was born, I have two brothers, just so you know the context of this, an older brother and a younger brother. And when they were born, they were both given middle names. My mom and dad decided that I did not need a middle name. And my dad's reasoning behind that was my name is Meredith Kennedy Tucker, and his thought was she can use Kennedy as a middle name when she gets married, in hopes that I would get married, I guess. And that way she can always remember from where she came. And I remember thinking, oh, that's going to be such a hassle when it comes to doing legal documents or signing anything. They're not going to be able to find me. It is a small issue every day that I have to deal with it, to honor the idea and the message that my dad wanted to send with me about remembering from where I came. And I love the name Kennedy. I love using that as a middle name. I do like the story of the fact that I didn't get a middle name when I was born, but this is so much more special to me. And so I do remember that, and I do love that there was some thought put into me growing up and being a part of my heritage with that name. So I hope that you find encouragement in these two texts, these two scriptures, and that we can always remember who we are in God's eyes, and that when someone tells you, or maybe you even feel deep down in your soul and in your heart that you have this calling, and you don't know if it's from God or if it's just a voice in your head, it will keep coming back to you. Even if you seek outside counsel from other people and they say, no, that's not a message from God. And maybe it's not, but if it keeps coming back to you and to your heart, then I would say that it is from God. And if it is good, it is from God. If it is for you to do good in the community and with your family and with the people that are in your circle, it is from God. We are asked to do no harm. We are asked to share God's love with everyone. And I hope that you find encouragement in this. And I pray that you have a great week. Thanks, guys.